Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges? Do you crave inner peace and mental resilience? In this video, we'll explore 6 transformative practices that Stoics use to cultivate mental strength and resilience in the face of adversity. Rule 1. Do what you believe, not what you feel. Stoicism says that the best way to make your mind strong and resilient is to trust your ideas instead of your feelings. This rule stresses how important it is to live by your morals and principles instead of letting your feelings guide you. This rule is based on the idea that our feelings are not always stable and reliable. They can change quickly and are affected by things like stress, tiredness, and what other people think. Our beliefs and ideals, on the other hand, are more stable and last longer. They come from what we've done, how we were raised, and our own personal beliefs. Let's look at an example to show how important it is to follow your ideals instead of your feelings. Imagine that you have to make a tough choice, like whether to accept a new job offer or continue in your current job. It's possible that your gut is telling you to stay where you are and avoid the risks that come with starting a new job. You may believe that taking the new job is the right thing to do because it fits with your values and long-term work goals. In this case, it takes courage and conviction to follow your ideals instead of your feelings. To live a life that is in line with your ideals, you have to be ready to make sacrifices and take wise risks. It also means that you need to be able to tell the difference between your feelings and your views, and not let your feelings get in the way of making good decisions. Being mindful and self-aware is one way to improve your ability to act on your ideas instead of your feelings. To do this, you have to pay attention to your feelings and thoughts and see how they affect how you act. You can learn to tell when your feelings are controlling your actions by becoming more aware of them. Then you can try to align your actions with your beliefs instead. Regularly thinking about your ideals and principles is another way to improve this skill. To do this, you need to think about what's most important to you in life, and then make an effort to live your life in line with those values. It's important to remember that following your ideas instead of your feelings doesn't mean you should never feel anything. Experiences with emotions are a big part of being human, and they can teach us a lot about how we think and act. Realizing that feelings aren't always accurate guides for what is true or right is important. You can get a more balanced and nuanced view of life if you learn to tell the difference between your feelings and your ideas. Following your views instead of your feelings doesn't mean you have to be set in your ways. Being open to new ideas and points of view is important, as is being ready to change your mind when strong evidence or arguments are given. Also, it's important to be able to defend your views when you need to. You can build a strong sense of purpose and direction by living in line with your values and principles. This will help you stay focused and motivated even when things go wrong. To get better at this, be mindful and self-aware. Think about your ideals often and be open to new ideas and points of view while staying true to your beliefs. Rule 2. Problems teach you something. Stoicism tells us that life is full of problems and setbacks, but how we deal with them shapes our character and decides how successful we are. The second rule of Stoicism is to learn from problems, which means to see them as chances to improve and learn. It may be normal for us to feel overwhelmed, frustrated, or down when we face a challenge. We might want to give up or run away from the situation completely. Stoicism, on the other hand, tells us to see problems as chances to learn and grow. Changing the way we think about problems is one way to learn from them. Challenges don't have to be seen as problems. They can be seen as chances to do something. For instance, if we are working on a tough job at work, we can see it as a chance to learn new things and get more experience. Reflecting on yourself is another way to learn from problems. We can think about what we learned and how we can use what we've learned in the future after we've faced a problem. Stoicism also tells us to keep our attention on what we can change when things get tough. We might not be able to change how things turn out, but we can change how we react to them. We can stay calm and collected even when bad things happen if we focus on how we will react. For instance, when we have to make a tough choice, we can focus on getting all the facts, weighing our options, and making the best choice we can. We might not be able to change what happens, but we can change what we do and how we react. Being persistent is another important part of learning from problems. Stoicism tells us that sticking with something is a big part of being mentally strong and resilient. That being said, we need to be ready to keep going even when it gets hard. Having perseverance means keeping going even when we want to give up. It means keeping our commitment to our goals even when things are hard or unclear. When we practice sticking with something even when it gets hard, we strengthen our minds and make ourselves more able to handle whatever life throws at us. Also, keep in mind that learning from problems is something you do for the rest of your life. Challenges are something we can't fully avoid, but we can learn to welcome them and see them as chances to learn and grow. To make our minds stronger and more resilient, we need to be ready to take chances and leave our comfort zones. It is important to be ready to take on tasks and learn from our mistakes. Remember that the difficulties we face don't make us who we are. How we deal with them does. When we choose to learn from our mistakes, we can become stronger and better prepared for anything life throws at us. One important part of Stoicism is learning from problems. This is also a great way to make your mind stronger and more resilient. We can become stronger, smarter, and more resilient by seeing obstacles as chances to learn and grow, practicing self-reflection, focusing on what we can control, being persistent, and taking risks. Rule 3. Know what you can and can't manage. It is said that one way to make our minds strong and resilient is to understand what we can and cannot control. This idea is called the dichotomy of control, and it is one of the main ideas in Stoic thought. The dichotomy of control says that we can change some things in our lives, like our thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. We can choose how to react to these things because we can directly change them. However, there are some things in life that we can't change, like what other people do, natural events, and the state of the economy. There are some things that we can't change, and we can't decide how they will go. To make our minds stronger and more resilient, we need to learn to tell the difference between the things we can manage and the things we can't. We need to put our attention and energy into the things we can change and learn to let go of the things we can't change. In no way should this mean that we should ignore the things we can't change. Instead, we should see them for what they are and accept them as such. We should be aware that some things in life are out of our control and can't be predicted. We should also be ready for the unexpected. In order to do this, one can practice negative visualization. This is a Stoic exercise in which we imagine the worst-case situations and think about the losses and setbacks we might face. Getting ready for the unexpected and building up our grit can be done in this way. A different way to become more resilient is to practice amor fati, which means love of fate. This means embracing the present moment and taking it for what it is, whether it's good or bad. It means understanding that everything that happens to us is connected to a bigger picture and that even the worst things can teach us important lessons. To practice amor fati, we need to learn to stop caring about how things will turn out and instead pay attention to the process. The path, not the end goal, is where we need to learn to find happiness and well-being. We need to stop seeing problems and failures as things that need to be avoided and start seeing them as chances to learn and grow. The ultimate goal of the dichotomy of control is to help us find peace and calm within ourselves. Focusing on the things we can change and letting go of the things we can't change can help us feel less stressed and anxious and make us stronger. Figuring out what you can control and what you can't is important. Make a list of the things you can control, like your thoughts, feelings, and actions, and the things you can't, like tragedies and other people's actions. Pay attention to and put your energy into the things you can control. Think about the things you can change, like your own behavior and mood, instead of worrying about things you can't change. Try picturing bad things happening. Think about the worst things that could happen and the losses and setbacks you might experience. You can mentally get ready for the unexpected and build up your strength by doing this. Don't worry about whether the present moment is good or bad. Just accept it for what it is. Find happiness and satisfaction in the trip, not the end goal. Focusing on the things we can change and letting go of the things we can't change can help us feel less stressed and anxious and be stronger when bad things happen. Rule 3. Know what you can and can't manage. One of the most important ideas in Stoicism is that we should know the difference between what we can control and what we can't. To sum up this idea, the third Stoic rule says to know what you can control and what you can't. What the Stoics thought was that a lot of our pain and stress comes from trying to control things that we can't. For example, we might worry about the future, be afraid of what other people will think, or get angry at how other people act. But the Stoics knew that these things are out of our control in the end. We don't have power over what will happen in the future, what other people think of us, or what other people do. We need to learn to focus on the things we can change in order to make our minds stronger and more resilient. This includes what we think, what we do, and how we feel. By focused on these things, we can find peace and happiness within ourselves, even when bad things happen. Making your mind strong and resilient isn't always easy, but it's worth it. Stoicism teaches us how to live a life with purpose and meaning by making us smarter, stronger, and more adaptable. Rule 5. Don't hide from the truth. Face it. The thought of facing the truth and not fighting it is one of the most important lessons of Stoicism. This means we have to accept things as they are, not as we wish they were. In this case, it means facing the facts, even if they are painful or uncomfortable. The Stoics thought that fighting against the truth only makes us suffer and stops us from learning and growing. When we fight against the truth, we're really fighting against reality, which can make us feel frustrated, angry, or hopeless. It is important to learn to face the truth, even when it is hard, if we want to have strong minds. This means that you don't judge or fight the present moment. You just accept it as it is. As an example, let's say that someone at work tells you something bad. At first, you might want to fight back against the comments and become defensive. You could tell yourself, "This feedback isn't fair or true. I don't deserve this." You are only making things worse for yourself by fighting the message. You are not willing to accept the truth, which is that you might not have done as well as you thought you did. Once you accept the truth, you can start to do something about it and make things better. The feedback doesn't have to make you mad or frustrated. Instead, you can use it as a chance to learn and grow. One more way to face the truth is to accept that life is temporary. The Stoics thought that everything in life is short-lived, and that we need to accept this in order to live a full and worthwhile life. It means realizing that we will all go through loss, change, and hardship at some point in our lives. It means realizing that nothing lasts forever, not even our own lives. We can learn to enjoy the present and make the most of our time on earth if we accept that everything changes. You can learn to let go of attachments and demands so you can focus on what's important. Being self-aware means being able to understand your own feelings, thoughts, and actions. As we become more self-aware, we can see when we are fighting the truth and take steps to accept it. Getting feedback is a great way to learn and grow. We can learn more about ourselves and the world around us by asking other people for feedback. We can't change the fact that life changes all the time. When we accept this, we can learn to enjoy the here and now and make the most of our time on earth. Being grateful means noticing and enjoying the good things in our lives. Being thankful can help us focus on what's important and let go of ties and expectations. Stoicism teaches us that we should face the truth and not fight it. This can help us become mentally stronger and more resilient. We can learn to grow and learn from our mistakes instead of getting stuck in resistance and pain if we accept reality as it is. It may be hard to accept the truth sometimes, but it is always better to face it head-on than to fight it and cause ourselves needless pain. To face the truth and be more resilient in the face of life's difficulties, we can practice mindfulness, become more self-aware, ask for feedback, accept that things change, and be grateful. Rule 6. Try to be a good person. Finally, the sixth and last rule of Stoicism is to try to be a good person. This rule sums up all of Stoicism's other lessons and is the main point of a Stoic's life. Stoicism tells us that the best thing we can do is to strive for virtue, and that having a good life is the key to happiness and satisfaction. Being wise means being able to tell the difference between right and wrong, true and false, and then acting on that knowledge. It is the trait that helps us make smart choices and see clearly through the complicated parts of life. To become wise, we need to learn how to think critically, question what we think we know, and look for ways to learn and understand. The trait of courage is what makes us face our fears and act with bravery and conviction. We can stand up for what's right even when things get hard because of this virtue. To become more courageous, we need to learn to face our fears, take chances, and keep going even when things get hard. Being fair and respectful to others is a trait that lets us be just. Being honest and following through on our moral duties are examples of character. To make the world a more fair place, we need to learn to be honest, to be kind to others, and to stand up for what's right. A virtue called self-discipline helps us control our wants and urges and live our lives according to our values and beliefs. This is the virtue that helps us overcome temptation and keep going when things get hard. To become more self-disciplined, we need to learn how to set goals, put our ideals in order of importance, and control ourselves. If we want to be good people, we need to work on these 4 ideals and let them guide our lives. In everything we do, we need to learn to be smart, brave, fair, and self-disciplined. However, being a good person doesn't just mean doing good things. It also means making the world a better place. Stoicism tells us that everything we do affects other people and the world around us. To be a good person, we need to learn to think about other people and how our acts affect them. We need to learn to be kind, caring, and giving, and we should use our skills and resources to make the world a better place. Being good also means taking responsibility for what we do and how it affects other people. Instead of blaming others or making excuses, we should own up to our mistakes and learn from them. It means taking responsibility for our acts and making things right when we've hurt other people. But it's not always easy to be a good person. You have to keep working at it, think about yourself, and be ready to grow and change. In order to become the best version of ourselves, we have to face our flaws and weaknesses. If we want to be good people, we also need to learn to let go of our egos and our need for approval from other people. To find happiness and purpose in life, we need to learn to seek virtue instead of getting more money, power, or position. Finding virtue is a journey that lasts a lifetime and takes constant work and thought about oneself. Being a good person, on the other hand, can make us stronger, help us live a full and worthwhile life, and change the world for the better. Stoicism gives us a powerful way to make our minds stronger and more resilient. It teaches us how to act based on our values, deal with problems, find inner peace, tell the truth, and try to be a good person. Remember that getting mentally